Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church, and I'm here today to begin a series with you of the next 2 weeks. This week, I'm going to be talking about the man Peter. You've heard a lot about him. He was a really great man, but he was also a very vulnerable man, and he didn't always do the right thing. But God chose Peter. He chose him for a special purpose, just like he chooses you for a special purpose. And so we're going to spend this week looking at the life of Peter. And then next week, we'll spend it looking at the writings of Peter and see what he says throughout all the ages for you and for me. So let's start. The first time his name is actually mentioned, it's in Matthew chapter 4, and it begins with verse 18. Jesus had just begun his ministry, and it says, Matthew 4:18. One day, as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, also called Peter, and Andrew, throwing a net into the water, for they fished for a living. Jesus called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." And they left their nets at once and followed him. See if you can picture in your mind this scene, this series of events. Simon and Andrew, Peter and Andrew, were fishing. Now, in those days, they fished with nets, not fishing poles. And most commercial fishing is done with nets everywhere in the world. And on the Sea of Galilee, there were a lot of people who fished. That's how they made their living. And Peter apparently was pretty good at it. So Jesus just comes walking along. Now, the crazy thing in this scene is that we don't know if Peter had heard about Jesus before or not. We kind of assume he must have, but that's just an assumption. All we really know is that Peter was fishing like he always did. Like, I suppose he got up that morning, figured today's going to be like every other day. This is how I'm spending my life. And in the midst of that moment, Jesus walks by and he gives one simple invitation: come and follow me. And he says, and if you do that, I'll make you fishers of people. Now, how in the world did that simple request motivate Peter to change his life entirely? Well, God has this crazy way of stopping by in our lives. I think he may have stopped by in your life. And when he stops by, everything changes. And Peter recognized that. There was something about Jesus that was different from everybody else. Now, Jesus doesn't promise Peter and Andrew riches. He doesn't promise them job security. He doesn't promise them opportunities to advance. He says, I'm going to teach you how to fish for men. And I'm sure they had no idea what he was talking about. But when Jesus stopped by in that moment of their lives, they were changed. And it says immediately they left their nets alone and they followed Jesus. Jesus still comes by people's lives today. Comes by yours, comes by mine. And he comes by with this same simple invitation. Come walk with me. But that simple invitation has profound ramifications for every other aspect of our lives. You know, God's pretty good at what he does. I know some contractor folks, and they're pretty good at what they do, but they can't hold a candle to what God can do. And I don't know where you are in your life. I don't know whether you're walking closer with God or whether he's just an afterthought once in a while or whether he's never a thought whatsoever. I don't know, but you know. And in the midst of your life, at some point, God is going to walk by and say to you, hey, come walk with me. I can't promise you that when that moment comes that you will find it to be exhilarating and dramatic. It may be a very quiet kind of a nudge. But I can promise you that if you respond like Peter and Andrew did, not so much drop everything and walk off. I mean, that might be what God's asking you to do. When he asked me to go to Guatemala years ago, all of my material possessions got reduced to 5 suitcases and 2 small barrels and a box. And everything else went. Over the years, God has done many things in my life. But I had to get up and go to get that process started. Your calling may not be that way, but it's just as profound, and it's just as meaningful, and it's just as life-changing as it was with Peter and Andrew. So I want to ask you a question today. Leave you with this question. When has God come by and touched your life? Did you recognize it? Would you recognize it if he comes today or tomorrow? I want to encourage you to look because God's working in your midst every moment of every day. What do you think about that? We're going to find out more about Peter this week. But in the meantime, if you have a need or a concern, let us know. And we'll do whatever we can, as fast as we can, to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Or if you're reading this at night, you had a wonderful day. And I'll be back tomorrow. Take care. I'll see you again.